Welcome to After the Poll, the video series where I discuss with you guys my thoughts on the rest of the comic books that I read for the current comic book week that I did not cover yet. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to become a member of the channel, just go ahead and join that membership. As low as 99 cents will get you stickers for your comments and live feeds, monthly badges, early releases to videos, so really cool stuff there. And then also we got mutantbeavercomics.com for variant exclusives, guys. Over 4,000 of them in their store. I have a discount code in the comment section below, Corner 10. When you use that discount code, you get to save 10% off of your first order and every purchase after that. So check out mutantbeavercomics.com. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started with this week's episode of After the Poll. Batman issue 145, legacy numbering 910, 36 pages, $5. Does this book bounce back after the whole Joker year one storyline? Take that for whatever it is, you know. I think it's even mentioned in the comic. Do you believe my story? Do you not? Like, Joker's messing with Bruce Wayne in there. This book is written by Chip Zdarsky, and the artwork is back by Jorge Jimenez. The artwork explodes. The action scenes are really good. It's just nice to see him back on this title. I get it. He needs to take breaks in between story arcs as well. But this Batman book does not work as well without his artwork. And for it to even compete with, say, Ultimate Spider-Man and maybe some other books out there these days, we need that top-tier artist on this book. So it looks absolutely outstanding, right? Now, for the story, on the other hand, I feel like that it is an improvement. I feel like I personally like the failsafe storyline, but it always gets interrupted by other story arcs, right? It's like we had failsafe, and then Batman like goes into different multiverse or in space or whatever it is, and then it gets thrown in his Joker storyline, and now it gets back again. I just really love them to just deal with failsafe all at once and not get interrupted with all this other stuff. But nevertheless, we wind up getting to see Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. He uploads his consciousness into the failsafe robot, okay? Now, since Batman has been missing all this time, the Bat family's not sure what to believe, if that's Bruce Wayne's conscience in a robot or if it's somebody else, because, you know, he's obviously playing tricks. And then what's going on is Batman Zur-En-Arrh is telling everybody in Gotham, he's like, I'm not taking anything from anybody anymore. He's like, there's no pain, no gain. If you commit a crime, you're going to jail. And it's crazy, man. There was a lot of stuff going on in this comic book, and I like the fight scenes and just the action and seeing the Bat family again, which was cool. There's a back-up story here with a freaking Joker, which I could care less about. I didn't read that one. But this book does definitely bounce back. I originally liked Chip Zdarsky's run when it has to do with failsafe. And now that he's combined with the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, I can never say the freaking name right, I think it's fun. Is it the best story ever? No. But with Jorge Jimenez back and this story arc going on with more of the Bat family, I think it's entertaining. Much better than what it is. So I'm going to give this one a B-. Very curious what you guys thought of this issue of Batman. Did you think it's improved from the Batman Year 1 or Joker Year 1 storyline? So let me know those comments down below. Venom issue 31, legacy numbering 231. And this is a 28-page comic for $4. Torrin Kronbeck is the writer. The art is done by Ken Lashley. The artwork is solid in this book. I love the facial expressions with Venom. There are some great freaking fight scenes in this comic book, because that's pretty much what this issue is. It's like one gigantic fight between Dylan Brock and Cletus Cassidy. This is the first time that these two are meeting up and doing a fight with each other. And it's kind of cool because they wound up meeting up in the church that Eddie Brock became Venom. Now, personally, in my opinion, in this comic book, is we've always had the crossover between Dylan and Eddie, and I've always liked the stories better with Dylan more than Eddie, because Eddie's been out in freaking space and time and all these different versions of himself. And we've seen Carnage like crossing over into like Eddie's world, and now he goes into Dylan's world and things like that, and he's trying to explore Dylan's mind of what happened to Eddie, and he doesn't truly know. And Carnage does this fight against Dylan to the point of where he's trying to take the Venom symbiote. It's really good. Obviously, it's symbolic, like I said, because it takes place in the church, and just these fight scenes and the expressions during the whole time is just absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the best issues I've read in Venom in such a long time. It's good to see these two mixing it up again with each other. And at the end of the comic book, you're kind of left a little surprised. And so this book was absolutely awesome. So I'm going to give this one a B+. Really good in my eyes. Definitely Venom is on the upswing as of right now. Curious to see how this whole Venom war is going to take place, but as of right now, it's really good. Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, issue 5. This is a 32-page comic for the price of $4. This is written by Robert Venditti. The artwork is done by Gavin Gautry. The artwork looks good. I mean, if you watch the original Superman movies, the characters are made to look just like those characters, like the late Christopher Reeves, like Gene Hackman. Just they look great, you know. It's just an awesome book to look at. It's not overly complex. It's not overly detailed, but you get the good facial expressions, and I really like that. Now, I will say that this story is good, but it's a little bit repetitive, as how many times are we going to see Superman fight Metallo, right? It's kind of like, okay, you win this battle, I win this battle, and who's going to win the war situation type of comic book. But in between there, we do get a solid story, right? And in this issue, this one has the most narration, most dialogue throughout the entire series so far. We get to see Lex Luthor makes his appearance here. He talks to Superman on how to defeat the armor, why the armor was created, and what do they need to do in order to stop Metallo, right? And then also in the meantime, we get to see Metallo himself, how he is actually being corrupted by the kryptonite because he has so much exposure to it. He's getting stronger, he's losing his temper, and it's not just him being in the armor anymore that's giving him like some super strength. So it has some effects on him as well. So there was really good emotional beats in this comic as well when we see Superman, who makes his appearance over in Russia, and how the Russians actually view him, okay? So definitely a really good comic book. Maybe, like I said, the fighting is a little bit repetitive, but that's okay. I enjoy this, and so I'm going to give this one a solid B. I want to know in the comments below, what are you guys thinking of this? And are you reading it? Is this a kind of the under the radar type of series? Sensational She-Hulk, this is issue 6. I said it last week, I can't drop this book. It's like a bad habit. I didn't read one issue, and then I came back to it because the last issue was halfway decent. And the legacy numbering here is 184, 28 pages for $4. Rainbow Rowell is the writer. The art is done by Ig Guara. The artwork is good in this issue. I really like the way the colors are. Jennifer Walters really pops in the comic book, right? And the facial expressions are good, and she's beautiful in this comic book. Like, there's a point where she dresses up and she just looks classy, elegant, really nice, and I thought it just, it hit it right here on the artwork, so I liked it. Okay, so let's talk about the story. This story has officially become a soap opera, right? But what made this one fun was just Jennifer Walters' interaction between her and the Jack of Hearts about her going on vacation with him. Now, how does that vacation happen? Well, Jen winds up getting suspended from her law offices because she has not been keeping a low profile while doing her lawyer stuff. So her person that's in charge, which is Mallory Book, is the one that actually just sits there and goes, you're suspended for 2 weeks, lie low, stay out of my hair, and let's let everything go down, just let everything die down. And so there was characters that were looking for her services, and she can't do anything. So what she does is she's like, why don't you just crash at my place? Because I had to do with some kind of renter stuff. And those characters were the name of Ransack and Carcass, right? And so they just like crash at their house. They're like sitting there right there. And her and Jack of Hearts sit there and go, hey, let's go on a vacation. He's like, we can go to this place where it's close to the sun. I can absorb radiation. We can make out. We can do whatever it is. We can actually be like a real couple. And Jen is like super excited about that. She's like, we can have drinks, we can have little umbrellas, we can have olives. And it was cool to see her be so excited. And she's hanging out at the bar and whatnot. And it was just really cool. And you get to see like Jack kind of hesitant about being so open to Jen because of his radiation problems, right? He's like, what if I calculate wrong and then I steal your gamma and all this stuff? And it was cool. I just loved the emotions here. Now, at the end of this comic book, we get reintroduced by the name of the character called, I don't know if I say her name, Ganymede? I don't know if that's her name, right? And she is this character who lost her sisters to this tyrant, and Jen meets her for the first time. And she's kind of just like giving her advice, just giving her emotional support. And then lo and behold, she's like, yeah, you never know who can enter your life at a specific point that can change things around. And look who it is, Jack of Hearts walking through the door, right? And it's just like, and she has this look on her face like, boom. And then the book tells you to go out there and says, why don't you go through those back issue bins, guys? So this creates this soap opera effect to the comic book. Now, this Ganymede character, I had to do some research myself to find out who she is, why she looks so surprised to see Jack of Hearts. She is the last of the spinsterhood female warriors that are dedicated to destroying the cosmic villain Tyrant. And she is the former lover of Jack of Hearts. And I was like, oh shit. So things are gonna like hit the wall in this comic book. She made her first appearance in a Silver Surfer book, in Silver Surfer issue 80. So that's where she goes back to during that same time period as the original Sensational She-Hulk. So this book was fun this time around. Jennifer Walters was very much in character. I like this one. So I don't know why this one stood out to all the other ones for me, but hey, at least it's on the right track, and it'll get me reading the character again. So I'm going to give this one an A-. I had a blast with it, man. I can't wait to see if these two characters go down with each other and how Jack of Hearts intervenes with these two. The Sentry, this is issue 4, the final issue of this story. This was a purpose to introduce a new Sentry in the Marvel Universe. So this is Sentry vs. Sentry. This is a 28-page comic for $4. And this is technically a first appearance of a particular character. I'll let you know who that character is. This book is written by Ben Harvey, and the artist is done by Luigi Segaria. The artwork is pretty good in this comic. I like it. I love the way the characters are drawn. I love the fighting scenes. There's lots of action in this comic. However, this comic is very predictable on the way that it goes, right? Throughout this comic book, we've gotten to see a bunch of new people, 6 people in fact, develop the powers of the Sentry. And we got introduced by the name of this little asshole by the name of Ryan Topper. And it's this guy. And his dream is to be the Sentry. And if we all know from Bob Reynolds' past that when you have the Sentry power, you get a little bit crazy, a little bit loopy, and he'll do whatever it takes to get these powers of the Sentry to become whole, to be the best Sentry that there is. Okay, so he wound up killing all the other characters, and all those guys are like haunting his brain because their minds are still intact. They're just within his body. There's one other character left, and that her name is Mallory Gibbs. So you're led to believe, okay, here we go. These two are going to fight it out to be the new Sentry. And it's very predictable on who you think is going to be the new Sentry. It is the female, Mallory Gibbs. She's the one that has a disability. She has cerebral palsy. And really what this book is also letting you know is that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you can't do great things in life, right? So it doesn't really harp on that. It doesn't really preach it all that much, but it does let you know in that comic that, hey, I'm capable of doing things just like you, if not better. So it does send that message in there, and it was kind of cool. And at the end of the comic, you wind up seeing her prevail, and she feels like she needs to control the power to become the hero that she wants to be. And she's going to be teaming up with Misty Knight, okay, to train her, just like Misty Knight trains like Miles Morales these days as well. So she seems to be like the apprentice to a lot of these young heroes. And she's not calling herself the Sentry now. She's actually calling herself Solaris. So the Sentry is no more. We have Solaris by the name of Mallory Gibbs. It still leaves open that maybe one day the original Sentry could be back. So overall, this was a good story. Was it the best story? Probably not, because it became too predictable at the end of the day, and that was the issue. So I think I'm going to give this one a C+. It was entertaining. I liked it all the way through. Ryan Topper, the asshole Sentry, he was pretty entertaining to see what he was going to do to become this Sentry. It made it dark, but I just don't like the predictability of the comic. Daredevil Gang War issue 4. This is going to be the last time I ever talk about a comic book that has Gang War attached to the name. This is a 28-page comic for $4. The book here is done by Erica Schultz and Sergio Fernandez de Villa. I've always said that this book has had awesome artwork. I love the crazy exaggerated hair that this artist has continued based off of Chiquetto's run on Daredevil. You get to see a little bit of back history of Elektra, how, she was challenged since she was once a little girl, and how she was trained by some of the, famous trainers and Daredevil and Stick and all those other people out there. And this is her last stand against Bologna, and Bologna has this things to prove. It's like this assassin's code where she feels that she has to be the best assassin. So this book is filled with just lots of action all the way through, and that's kind of what this series has been. And it's probably been one of the best tie-in series that actually relates to Gang War, where we get to see battles happen for Hell's Kitchen, right? It's always seemed to be that way, but it just fits in with Gang War the best out of everything. And we get to see cool little interactions here with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and other characters and whatnot. At the end of the day, you do see Elektra prevail over Bologna. She feels a little bit guilty about leaving her on the side of a ledge, left to die, but then when she goes back, she's gone anyway. So will these two stay enemies? It's still yet to be determined. Will we see Bologna again in the future? Who knows, right? I haven't seen her in forever. I think it was the last time I saw her was in all new Wolverine in itself. So this was good. It was fun. Did it need to exist? No. But if you love comic books for action, for fighting, good artwork, I think this is a comic book for you. So I'm going to give the whole series, at the end of the day, I'm going to give it a B-. Overall, it was great. It didn't really accomplish anything, but it's just fun. X-Men, this is issue 32. Is it me, or are you ready for the fall of X to be done and move on already? This book is 28 pages, and this is $4, written by Jerry Duggan. The art is done by Phil Noto. The artwork in here is just, it is what it is. It's very simplistic, okay? The layouts are very simplistic. Nothing here really screams, oh my gosh, it's so amazing to look at this artwork. There's some okay facial expressions, okay scenes, but I've definitely have seen better artwork over the years in X-Men titles, and I feel like when you get an X-Men title, you should have the very best artist on your title, especially the main title, right? So what was this particular issue about? Well, in very many ways, this was about a reunion of sorts, okay? We get to see Illyana come together, we get to see Kate come together, we get to see Polaris come together and fight with each other, trying to get to some mutants to free them, okay? And at the same time, we have a bunch of nanites that are in Illyana, and they're slowly killing her. That's the reason why she has not had her mutant power. So she's trying to also find the scientist or the guy that put him inside her, the Orcus person, and to try to get him to remove those nanites. And he's like, nope, sorry, it's not gonna happen. And then, you know, we wind up seeing Polaris come around, and Polaris like saves the day and removes the nanites from Illyana, and now she gets her powers back and she's going to live. But the coolest thing about this entire book for me was like Lockheed. Lockheed was severely injured in previous issues, right? And this like captain took Lockheed in and kind of nursed him back to health, and now he's reunited with Kate Pryde again, and that was kind of cool to see that. That was like the best thing for me in this comic book, you know. So like I said, it's just a reuniting of some characters, and had some emotion to it, but nothing spectacular, kind of bland. It's just there. I just feel like it's like one of those books that is just turning its wheels until we get to the next chapter of X-Men. So this one was a C for me. Gunslinger Spawn issue 29, and this is the aftermath of Spawn issue 350. This is a 24-page comic for $3. We have Todd McFarlane that does the writing. Carlo Barberi is the new artist on this book, coming from the original Spawn comic. Him and Brett Booth are basically swapping, okay? Now, when it comes to the artwork, it's great. I love it. It's like it doesn't matter who draws this comic, whether it was Dexter Soy, Brett Booth, Barberi. It's all great artwork, and I love it. I love the fight scenes in here. It's just awesome. And even though this book was a much simpler issue, right, it still was entertaining to read, because again, this one takes place after Spawn issue 350. Now, if you read Spawn 350, we wind up seeing that there's a new queen in charge of Hell, and she has basically expanded the dead zones, and the dead zones are spaces where the spawns will not have their powers, right? Because at the end of every single book, you wind up getting to see these numbers, and it's kind of like their power meters. And at the end of every single book, I think right now when it comes to Spawn, if I can open this up, we wind up getting to see their power meter at like 0001, which means they basically have no power inside of them. So in this issue, we wind up getting to see Javier camping out at a freaking Motel 6, and he's all bloodied and beat up from the last fight that he had. It's been like 2 weeks. The bro can't freaking heal, right? And he's got housekeeping coming into his hotel, and her name is Linda, and he's like, no. And then you got a couple gangbangers that are picking on her, and he kind of like intervenes with her, you know, with the whole situation. And she's rough around the edges, you know. She's like, I don't need your help. She's like, these guys are gonna be coming after me later on and stuff like that. And then you also get to see a little bit of an insight of what happened with Spawn's battle. And not only is Spawn affected by the whole situation with not having powers, but same with its enemies as well. They don't have powers either. So these guys got to all figure out how to function without all their powers, right? So pretty interesting stuff. Meanwhile, the girl by the name of Linda sits there and says, I apologize. You know, let's work together. I don't mean to do that. And he's like, okay, no problem. He's like, let's work together. We can help each other out. He's like, I don't know too much about this world. He's like, you can get me one of these metal horses, and I'll pay you for it. And she's like, okay. So it's kind of like how Taylor was for Javier before, as he was, his eyes and ears into the modern day world, because Gunslinger is a character that has no recollection of what goes on. He has no tech. He can't read. He was born like in the Western days, right? So yeah, great stuff, man. I love this book. It's an A book for me always. Every time I read it, I'm always entertained by it. Are you guys reading Gunslinger? If not, maybe you should. Void Rivals is back with issue 7, the beginning of a new story arc with the adventures of Derek and Solilla, I don't know how to say her name. This is a 28-page comic for $4. Remember, guys, this is attached to the Energon universe. This is what kicked off the Energon universe, with Jetfire being on the planet with these two characters. So it was really cool how everything kicked off that Energon universe. This is written by Robert Kirkman. The art is done by Lorenzo Del Felici. The artwork is pretty cool in this book as well. This book reads quick. You guys see a lot of purples in this one as well. We get introduced to a new character. Check out that, man. That's pretty awesome as well. When you read it, you'll understand what these colors kind of mean in here, but it's great stuff, okay? So in this comic book, we wound up seeing our two main characters, Derek and Zorella, okay? And the thing is that these two have been forced to work together from the beginning to get off this asteroid, to go back to their home planet, to maybe get their cultures to come back together once again. That all wound up going south. One escaped. Derek said, hey, we gotta get Solella, and we gotta make sure she comes with me to escape this world, and we work together to figure something out. Where they wind up going to these wastelands, and now they gotta escape these wastelands and go to a specific place, right? In the meantime, we wind up getting to see the leader of the of this race. I think it's is it Solella's race, right? Recruiting like this hunter, and it's this guy right here. He's the leader, and he recruits this hunter, and his name is Proximus. And he is the brand new character in this comic book. It's the first appearance of him. And he's in this tube. It looks like he was in a battle before. He wound up losing. And it's up to the leader to say, okay, I'm going to use you now. And then he becomes this once he's in his armor. And now he has to go after our two main characters, hunt them down. He's like a bounty hunter, I guess you could say, right? This doesn't have anything really to do with Transformers or anything like that as of right now. There was no mention of them in this comic book, but it was still really good to see Void Rivals back, and that it didn't take a long break. Was it my favorite issue? No. Was it... Maybe it was kind of a weird way to bring back the story after being off for a couple of months, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm going to give this one a B+. Void Rivals is great. The first trade is out now, so if you guys want to go ahead and pick that up and then buy this one, you'll be caught up in no time. Oh yeah, so there you have it, guys. There are the rest of the comic books I read for this current comic book week. If you want to see my thoughts on the newest number ones, and there was a ton of them, I'm going to leave you the video-worthy ones. Click on that one, and you're going to see what I thought about Ultimate X-Men and some of the other books. And as always, guys, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics. I'll see you real soon, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.